Well, it was a hugely important, symbolic day here in Kyiv because, as you say, there was a propaganda exercise in Moscow yesterday. Today we're able to demonstrate that Europe stands with Ukraine. You had, the UK represented, France, Germany, Poland, and of course here with President Zelensky and many others that joined the call virtually. So 80 years on from VE Day, it was really important that we were here today. We actually made material progress in relation to a ceasefire, so that is an extremely good outcome. But it was also important to demonstrate that the values that underpinned what was being fought for 80 years ago were the same values now, and that we will step up and play our part to preserve the peace and bring about that ceasefire.
It's an impressive show of unity, no doubt, but Dmitry Medvedev, the former Russian president, has already said, shove these peace plans. So aren't they just another act of symbolism?
Well, we haven't seen unity like this pretty well throughout the conflict. So to get the European allies, US,
but Russia are
New
saying
Zealand,
shove these peace plans,
Canada, all on one page. Putin, of course, cannot be trusted, but this now is a unified call for an unconditional ceasefire, backed up by sanctions. Now, there are sanctions in place at the moment. They're already having an impact on the Russian economy. So by further coordinating sanctions on oil, on fossil fuels, etc., will make a material difference. So you've got unity in the demand, but also unity in what the response will be if the demand is not met. We haven't seen that sort of unity during this conflict, and I'm really pleased that we've been able to bring people together in this way for what feels, I think, for all parties concerned, to be a really significant moment.
And do all those parties include President Trump? Obviously, you had him on Emmanuel Macron's speakerphone earlier. Is he growing increasingly exasperated with President Putin?
I think it's important to appreciate that it was President Trump that first made the proposal for the 30-day unconditional ceasefire. President Zelensky signed up to that 2 months ago, and we spoke to President Trump after our meeting here, and I'm absolutely clear that we're aligned in relation to this. In relation to his relationship with President Putin, well, he will better describe it than me, but I do think that he's absolutely clear that this is a demand that must be met. Have we got a step closer to that? Yes, of course. I'm not going to pretend this is the end of the process, but this is a significant moment. We need now to push on and make sure this happens.
As you say.